Hey, what's up? Rob Penna here from Baseball, Softball, Pacific Rim Podcast, and I am excited for this episode because you get to be introduced to Leona Lafaele. She played at the University of Alabama, helped to take them super far into the World Series. They did really well. She's got a very unique story on how she ended up at the University of Alabama. So I am excited because now you get to walk into her shoes and hear firsthand her experience, what it took to get there, and where she's at right now. So I'm pumped. Here you go, Leona Lafaele.
All right.
Hello?
Hi. How's it going?
Hey, Rob.
Cool. You can hear me okay, right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so I want to say thank you, first of all, for making some time for sharing your story. Trust me when I say there's going to be a lot of parents and also young people that's going to be encouraged by what you've done so far. And the reason why we do this is because not a lot of them know, right? So I want to be able to share your story and get it out as far as we can. So I'm just going to turn it over to you, and you can start from the beginning, like who's your family, where you guys came from, how you started to play softball. Maybe you might have, done other sports before, but let's take it from the top, right? From when you were growing up and all that stuff. So tell us a little bit about your family and where you guys started, where you started with softball.
Oh, okay. Well, it is. It's a long story, but we'll keep it short. I am from Sacramento, California. My dad was born and raised in Samoa, and he's from Fukinga. And my mom is from Oakland, and they met up in Sacramento. And the story goes down the road. She has 5 of us. I'm the second oldest of 5, and we started playing softball at a very young age because my mom always wanted us to be in sports, but all the sports that we wanted to play were too expensive. So we started playing softball. What was that?
And what year was this?
Oh, gosh. I can't even remember. I mean, I'm 24 now, but I started playing when I was 5.
Wow.
And so yeah. And so my sisters also played. My oldest sister, me, and then 2 of my younger sisters. We all played together in Natomas, South Natomas. And my brother played baseball, and he plays every sport. But, yeah, so we grew up playing, and I was on a bunch of different teams playing for the rec league. And then I think when I was about 10 years old, one of my teammates saw that I really loved it and that I used to stay late after practice. So her name's Gabby Boguer. She's actually a college coach now. And her family actually asked me if I wanted to come play for their travel ball team called the Yard Sharks. And that's where my travel ball career started. And from there, it blossomed into other teams, like other travel ball teams. And eventually I landed on All-American Sports Academy. And that's where a lot of the girls were looked at. And I eventually got seen on that team. And that's how I ended up, that's long story short, that's how I ended up at the University of Alabama.
Okay, awesome. So for the people and parents that don't know what travel ball is, can you explain a little bit about what that looks like? Because it sounds like it was a big step above just the rec league, just the normal league that kids would play on. Like, what does travel ball entail?
Well, travel ball is a lot different from league ball or Little League, because with Little League, it's lots of fun. And, I mean, it's still fun now. But in travel ball, it's different because you get to travel. It's outside states, and you have one team that you don't change teammates on every year unless you have tryouts and things like that. But you basically grow as a team, and you play more competitive sports. So it's like like the way baseball has competitive teams and then regular rec teams, things like that. So travel ball was just a different way to see different teams outside of your own state. And even if it was in your state, you would see the better competition of that, not just people who are just learning how to play softball. It's more of like people who are developed, they have their teams, they have their strategies, things like that. Like a more girls who are more competitive and kind of seasoned in their sport.
Got it. Okay. So it eventually takes you to a year-round kind of thing, right, where you would play all year. So you play summer baseball or softball, and then your travel balls during the fall and spring, and then back to summer. So, but it's competitive, much more competitive, right?
Yeah, it's much more competitive. Once you start getting into like high school ball, then it stops, because once season goes into high school, you're not allowed to play anymore for those teams. But you pick right back up after school ball is done. But yeah, it's pretty much year round. It is a grind, definitely. But it was so worth it, and you get lifelong friends, and you get to play the sport that you love. And so I always had a great time. A lot of my family, they always laughed at me because I would go to sleep early, or I wouldn't go to family functions because I was trying to get ready for practice. But it was all worth it in the end, and I don't regret anything.
Right. So you said 10 years old is when you started competitive travel ball?
Yeah, just about. I think I was 10 years old. But yeah, it was pretty young. I was always at practice with my when I was playing rec ball. My mom sometimes would be late to pick me up, so me and my siblings. So we would just stay after practice, and I already knew it would be late, so I just asked the coach to hit me more, and they saw how much I really loved it. And so one of the parents, his daughter actually played travel ball, and they just needed an extra player and asked me if I would come. And as soon as I saw how much more competitive it was, like, I was hooked. And so I asked my dad if we can come back and try out for other teams, and from there I stopped playing rec ball, and then I only played travel ball.
Now, were your parents familiar with the concept of travel ball and the schedule and all the actual traveling, or were they introduced to that much later when you started travel ball?
It was definitely much later. My mom and my dad, they didn't really think about this long term. It was just for something to keep us, busy and active, and it eventually turned into something like that, to where it was competitive. But I don't think we started traveling until we got probably closer to 8th grade and up, because then I got onto teams that started going to like LA, because I'm from Sacramento. And so we would travel to LA, Colorado, Texas, places like that, like really far away. And that's when we started picking up more travel tournaments and things like that. And we also went to Oklahoma before too. So it was a shock when we finally got onto teams that traveled far. And it was definitely, I remember every Friday, like for my last team that I played on in high school, the All-American Sports Academy, we used to play almost every weekend in the summer in LA. And as soon as school was done, my mom used to get off of work, and we used to pack the car. And instead of skipping school that day and getting that in the hotel that night, we would just drive all night, and I would just sleep in the back car, in the back. And they'd lay all the seats down and put the blankets over, and we'd drive throughout the whole night and then play in the morning. So I used to get ready in, like, the gas station bathroom.
Oh.
And then we used to get the hotel for one night for that Saturday and then check out on Sunday after our last game. But, it was definitely crazy as far as, like, schedule-wise. And I don't know how my parents did it, but they did, and I still can't believe it, because now I see all these parents nowadays, and they say, "Oh, we can't go on that team because they travel too far." But I just can't even. I totally understand that because I don't even know how my mom did that because we traveled every single weekend. So it was crazy, but it was fun. Road trips. I love road trips.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's awesome. When do you feel like you started to grow and excel as a player? Was it during the transition, or was it while you, like, much later in your travel ball career? When do you feel like you actually excelled and started to develop?
I think as far as like my drive and my passion, I've always loved softball since I was little. I love to be competitive, so I don't think that changed until I got into college, really. But as far as like skill wise, I think I started changing when I started getting on the more competitive team. So probably like around 8th grade ish, into high school, because the competition, even within just my own team, was so steep that I had to pick up my game and I had to stay longer and I had to go to lessons and I had to up my game, because if I didn't up my game, I wasn't going to play. And it wasn't only within my team, it was like the level of competition we were playing. We faced a team. I remember we went to a tournament in Colorado, and I had made, I think, like an all-star game or something like that. And they had wristbands, and it showed if you were committed, like a lot of girls, the wristband the color would be black. And then if you were uncommitted and a freshman, it would be red. So I had red that game because I was so young and I wasn't committed and I wasn't talking to anybody. And all of the girls that had made it on my team, they were all wearing black wristbands. And I couldn't believe how crazy it was. Like, these girls are so good. We were playing against girls who were already signed 2 or 3 years before I even got on my team. So, I definitely think once I started getting into like middle school and older, like 8th grade and up, I definitely started seeing myself develop more and seeing my skills, getting better because of how hard I tried to train so that I could become like those girls who were committed, and so I could get that playing time on my team.
And what about your siblings? How did they do? Did they not like it, or what was their story?
Well, my siblings, they're awesome. All of them are very athletic except for the youngest girl in our family. All 4 girls are older than the youngest boy. And so my oldest sister, she is really good. She is actually better than me, but she wasn't as competitive because she's a very free-spirited person. And so when we'd lose, she'd be happy about it, and I would hate it. And she'd say, "It's okay, Ona, at least we had fun." And I was like, "No, I hate losing." And so, things like that affected how we practiced. And so she eventually wanted to get into other things like volleyball and partying. So yeah, but she is an awesome athlete too. And then it's me, and then my younger sister, the one right after me, she's amazing at sports, and she actually played softball and baseball in American Samoa. And I remember you saying you did an interview with Kaylani Ricketts. Well, it's so weird because she actually was there for Kaylani Ricketts and her sisters when they did their first camp in Samoa. My sister was there, and she was there, and we had just beaten them that year. I wasn't at Bama yet. It was the year they won the national championship in 2012, and they had just beaten Oklahoma, which was Kaylani was their pitcher, and I guess Kaylani heard about her, and it was funny because Tia was like, "Yeah, that's my sister, and she's the one that is going to Alabama," and I was like, "Oh, don't say that, Tia, because I'm not on the team yet." But it was funny. She said she really loved them and how awesome they were. Oh yeah,
wow.
And then my youngest sister, the youngest one out of us, yeah, she's, bless her. She doesn't have an athletic bone in her body, but she has a heart of gold, and she's the smartest one out of all of us. Like, that girl is so smart. And so she was more blessed on the book side, educational side. Yeah. Oh, and
That's
then
awesome.
Mike, I forgot about the best athlete in our whole family, my little brother. He's actually at the University of Wyoming playing football. So he played all sports when he grew up. He was, baseball, basketball, football, rugby, any sports. He was really good at it, and he actually got himself a full ride scholarship to play for the University of Wyoming, and he just finished his freshman year. So he's out there.
Wow. Yeah, good job to him.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, when you got into high school, after travel ball, you got into high school. When did you start thinking about college, or like when did you start noticing that like college recruiters were looking at you? Was it during travel ball or when you got into high school?
Well, it was during travel ball that I got looked at, but my story's a little different from a lot of other girls. I know you interviewed a lot of good people, especially Kaylani Ricketts. Like, she's amazing. But my story's kind of a little different from theirs because I wasn't recruited. I wasn't highly recruited until the summer of my senior year. So in softball, when I was playing, a lot of talk was like, if you weren't signed by like your sophomore year of high school or like your freshman year of high school, it was basically over for you. And I was a junior going into my senior year, so it was already tough for me. And so the way I played my junior summer, I just played the way I played. Like, I just didn't care because I didn't have the pressure that all the other girls had of all those schools looking at them. So when I played all my tournaments, we played a really big tournament in Colorado, and I was just very, like, when I played, I knew it was a big tournament, so I just prayed and I said, all right, well, I'm just going to play just for whatever, like, I'm just going to play the way I play, and I prayed that if it was meant to be, it would happen, and I actually did really, really well. I hit a bunch of home runs, and that's when I saw, I think it was Allie, our assistant head coach at Bama. She saw me hitting, and she saw me hit a couple bombs, and she told Murph that he had to come look at me. And when he was driving up to one of my games, I actually hit a home run that almost hit his car. So
wow.
So yeah, and it was really awesome because all the way up until that tournament, I had 0 offers. And I mean, yeah, it was disheartening because I thought I was good, and I and my parents and everybody thought I was good, but just as far as like being seen and things like that, I just, I was under the radar. And then after that tournament, I did really, really well, and I walked away from that tournament, I think, with 7 offers. Like,
wow,
and I had,
really?
Yeah, and at the end of that tournament, because it's like a week-long tournament, at the end of the very last day, I had about 4 meetings, and they all offered me on the spot, and I was very excited, and, it was all God, because I know I would. There's no way there's just no words, because it's true in softball. A lot of girls, get unseen, and if they're not seen by their freshman or sophomore year, a lot of girls get, upset and disheartened, and they think that they're not going to make it. But by the grace of God, I was seen, and I almost hit Murph's car, and I was so happy because then he knew it was real, and then that's when he offered me. And a week later, without seeing the campus or anything like that, I committed to the University of Alabama.
That is gnarly. Yeah. That's absolutely gnarly. Wow, congratulations. So 7? You had 7 offers? What other schools wanted you to play?
Well, I mean, the main schools that I was looking at that I wanted to go to was, like, of course, the University of Alabama, and then I really, really liked Washington, and I wanted to stay in and Hawaii. I really wanted to go to them too, and I really, really wanted to stay on the West Coast, but something about the meeting with Murph. I mean, I didn't even care about any of the other schools. As soon as I met Murph and Allie, I could tell how genuine they were. And immediately after, I told my mom, like, I mean, because our family was, yeah, we played softball, but we watched a lot of volleyball because my mom played volleyball and my grandpa played volleyball, and volleyball was just something that we were all in love with. And I mean, if I was better at volleyball, I would have played volleyball, but I'm not good at volleyball. So I didn't really know how good Alabama was, because my whole thing is like softball is something that I do. It's not like my life, so I didn't want to be consumed by that. And so after practice and everything, that was it. Like once I came home, it was about my family. It was about chilling with them, watching TV. In other households, it's like if you play softball, then you watch softball, then you eat, sleep, breathe with softball. But it wasn't like that for me. So I didn't really know how good they were. And then we Googled after our meeting how good they were, and then I was like, yeah, Mom, we're going to go there because they're awesome. I don't even need to see any of the other coaches. I don't need to talk to them. I was like, yeah, Murph and Allie are pretty awesome. I'll just go ahead and go with them.
Wow. How did it feel? How did it feel during that time when you got the first offer?
It was pretty exciting, especially for me because I didn't have a lot of offers, like I said. You had, I don't know what Kaylani Ricketts or the Alo, I didn't know what their offers were or like what their recruiting was like, but I'm pretty sure theirs was pretty amazing because they're amazing ball players. But me, I didn't have that, and so to know that finally anyone, was noticing my talent, oh man, I almost wanted to cry every night. As soon as, every time I hit a home run at that tournament, I wanted to cry because, all the competition around me, like on my own team, they attracted their coaches to our team. So I was just hoping that with my performance and with my home runs and things like that, that even their coaches would take notice of me, And so when I was finally getting that feedback, it was amazing and so exciting and so fulfilling because, I was finally getting recognized, and it was really awesome.
So do you remember, and you said it was the assistant coach that came up to you?
Yes.
Yeah, did it happen after a game or before a game or like at the hotel, or did you get a call did your coach say, hey, someone wants to talk to you, or how did that thing play out? Like, because you probably didn't expect any of that.
No, I wasn't expecting that. Our team was blessed to have a liaison, and his name is Mario, Coach Mario. He is now at the University of the Pacific. And he was the one that was talking to all the coaches for us and making connections and things like that. And so when he came up to me after the games and he told us how many colleges were interested, I was like, oh, that's amazing. And then I remember him saying, oh, and they want to meet you after this game. And I said, what? I was so excited. And I mean, I think I remember getting into the car and my mom, she was just, I think she said a prayer about it, just thanking God for, blessing us with the opportunity. Because we went into that tournament not thinking anything. I was unsigned. I was going into my senior year. I had no offers. And at the end of those 7 days, we had a bunch of colleges, and I actually had meetings with them. That's big. And so it was so exciting. And I just remember him saying that and us sitting down and talking to the coach. I think it was I had one meeting before the University of Alabama, but just to know that I had meetings lined up was just amazing, especially for, someone in my situation. So it was just amazing. But I do remember, now that I think about it, like how lucky it was. My grandpa, who passed away in 2017, my mom had ordered my first bat, and it was such an amazing bat, and it finally got in. It was a Demerini, and my grandpa, the day before we left, he prayed over my bat, and he yeah, he prayed over my bat and just prayed that I would do good that weekend. And then that's when I came back, and I had the news to tell my grandpa that I had meetings and stuff like that, and he was so excited. And I mean, the rest is the rest. That was really amazing. Yeah.
Wow, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. So you go into your senior year, you're excited. Now your high school teammates are all excited for you. What was your approach to your game your senior year, knowing that you had a home essentially?
I was more. I guess my approach to all my games were just trying to perform the way I perform, and not cruising because of the fact that I was signed, because you get a lot of what is it called, senioritis, and it's like when it's your last year, like who cares, like I'm almost done. So the way I approached it was like nothing changed. Like I still need to perform the way I perform. I don't know if he's in the stands. I don't know if he has people reporting back to him. I don't know if they're secretly watching. So I tried to still perform the same way, as if nothing else happened, because, I mean, I got recruited that way, so I wanted to stay that way. And I do remember on one of the tournaments my senior year, it was so funny because we went to nationals, the PGF nationals, and we played this first team, and it was where I met Chandler Dare. And so she was a junior when I was a senior in Bama. Well, when I went in, she came in a year after me. But in nationals, we beat her team to continue, and then we faced one of my teammates, like my actual classmates, Andrea Hawkins and Demi. We faced their team, and then they beat us, and then they played Leslie Jury and Haley McClenny and Danae Hayes, and they were all on the same team too, and they ended up beating her team. So it was crazy because when we got there, I met so many of my teammates that I had no idea who were my teammates.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
it was pretty awesome.
That's gnarly. So then you get to college, right? What was the send off like? Where everybody's excited, but was there a little bit of, oh man, I'm gonna miss like the homesickness? Did the homesickness hit on the plane ride there, or did it not hit at all?
It actually, I think the homesickness hit me, like it finally hit me that I was at the university for good after my mom left, because it was only my mom who came with me. It was just me and her, and we had 2 suitcases because we were traveling all the way from California, and so I couldn't bring everything on the plane because you're only allowed 2 luggages. So I had 2 luggages, and then when we got there, I had all these teammates coming out, because Murph always likes to introduce the freshmen to their dorms with the whole team. Like the whole team comes and helps, and they take all your stuff too. Yeah, so the whole team was there, and I got to meet them again, and they were like, "Oh, is this all you have?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's all." And after we went to Target and stuff and bought the stuff that I needed, my mom was getting ready to leave, and we were in the parking deck right across the street from my dorm, and she just started bawling. Like, she just started bawling right before she was about to leave, because she kept it together the whole time. We never shed any tears. And then as soon as, like, she was saying bye to me, like, in the car, she hugged me, and she started crying and crying and crying. And every time I pass by that parking deck, I think about that. And I started crying too, and I was so sad. And she was like, okay. She was like, okay, you gotta go. And she was like, you need to go back to your dorm right now. And I was like, okay, because we were just hugging and crying, and I knew from that point that, wow, I'm really on my own. Like, I'm really gonna be here by myself. Yeah, and so when she left, it finally hit me that I was on my own in college, and it was really hard, but my teammates made it really easy because they were so sweet and so loving. And the reason why I picked Alabama was because of the family atmosphere they had. And my teammates, like, every day, every second of the day, they were texting me saying, let's go have lunch, let's do this, let's do that, let's just go hit, let's go do something. And because they knew I was homesick. So my whole freshman fall I was homesick, but the girls did like a really, really good job of making me feel at home and always trying to include me, because they knew how much I loved and missed my family.
Yeah, boy, that must have been rough, but at the same time, it must have been fulfilling to know that there were people there to help you. But it's still, leaving home for the first time, like being on your own for the first time, it's rough.
Oh, yeah.
Man. It's rough. So.
It is rough. I remember one time in college, I went out with one of the seniors. I was a freshman. She was a senior. She's still one of my really good friends today. Her name's Kima Davis. And I think we just went out to go eat. And she said, okay, well, let's go to this place and go watch a movie. And I was like, isn't it time, like, don't we have to go for, like, bedtime or check-in or curfew? And she laughed and she said, Ona, you're in college. You can do what you want. And I said, oh, shoot, I didn't know that. Yeah, because my mom always told me to come home before it gets dark. So it was crazy. And then I was like, oh, yeah, you know what? You're right. Let's go watch that movie because I am an adult and I can do this.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah, but yeah, it was hard being away from home, and especially like all the workouts and stuff. Oh man, Michelle Dilch, she's our strength and conditioning coach. I mean, she worked us to the bone, and I thought I wouldn't make it, and so I would call my mom crying and telling her that I couldn't do it anymore to come pick me up because I wanted to quit. Because it was so hard. It was so hard. The workouts were so hard. And my mom was like, no, you suck it up. Oh, well, did you die? Nope. Then you can do it. So, yeah, it was crazy.
And how was your first year playing? How was that transition?
It was nerve-wracking. Because it was all college girls, and we had a really good team. I actually came in after the national championship the year after, so we had a lot of high expectations. And it was just hard because we were trying to be that team. That's what we struggled with. We were trying to be that team instead of being ourselves, and I think that's what we struggled with my freshman year, and especially for me as a freshman. I mean, I was just scared in general, which I wish and pray that none of the athletes ever have that attitude, because it's the mindset that you have that sets you apart. You know, it's not anything else, because you can work to get stronger. You can work to get faster, you know, things like that. But if you're mentally weak, you'll always be weak, you know? And so I think my freshman year, I was just mentally weak, and I was just like the kind of freshman was like, okay, well, the seniors will do it. They won a national championship. The upperclassmen will do it because they won a national championship. No one's looking at me to do anything. But I think if I wouldn't have had that attitude, I would have had a better freshman year. You know?
Right. Okay. So is that what you would counsel yourself? Like if you were to counsel your 19-year-old self, and knowing what you've gone through and what you know now, what would you tell your 19-year-old freshman person going
I was
into their
actually
first year?
17 when I was actually 17 as a freshman.
You're 17-year-old. Wow.
Yeah, I was 17.
Wow.
Yeah, I definitely would tell myself that to come in and be mentally strong, because you have the resources to get stronger. You have the resources to get physically fit. You know, we have meal prep, we have athletic trainers, we have all those kind of resources. But it's up to you to apply yourself and to be mentally strong, as far as like not letting anybody tell you anything different, or not letting results, waver your mentality. Because I feel like that's the difference between great players and just average players. The great players, they'll go and they'll strike out one time, but the next at bat, they have the same mindset. Like, I don't care. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to be the best that I can be, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to get the job done. And so I think that's what makes you different from other players, when you can develop that kind of mentality. Especially for females, I feel like we're perfectionists and we want to be perfect about everything, and we want to hit 5 home runs, and we want to win the game, and we want to do this and we want to do that. But in reality, softball and baseball, it's a game of failure.
Mm-hmm.
The best hitters in the country who are All-Americans, they hit like 300, 400, and they're All-Americans. That means like out of 10 at-bats, they failed 6 or 7 times, and they're still considered the best in the nation. And so I feel like if young athletes are able to understand that, and understand that you will fail, but it's about how you handle failure. Will you rise above it, or will you be defeated by it? I think that's what makes you a cut above, above everyone else, if you can handle that well. And I feel like I did that towards the end of my career. And I would definitely tell all young athletes anywhere that if you can get mentally strong, before you come in, be your best friend, and things will be a lot easier.
That's good. That's good. I coach my little kids here. Last year was their first year player pitch. But one thing I stressed at the beginning of the year, and for them and the parents, is the idea that the most important play is the next one, is to get them to understand whether if they get a strikeout or if they miss the ball, well, that's okay, because what's the most important play? And then they'll all repeat the next one, right? Because we always have another chance to do better. The result is great, but it's always on the effort. So if the result is failure, oh well. But if I gave it my best, then man, we champion that. We'll celebrate that. So I definitely agree that mindset is huge, not just in sports, but in all facets of life, entrepreneurship, relationships. Yeah.
For sure. I definitely agree. That is, I think, the biggest part of an athlete. Of course, like you have to practice and you have to master your craft, because you can't just be mentally strong and then have no skill. But a lot of people forget that you have to also train your mind too, because you can have the prettiest swing, but if you go up there doubtful and you're thinking too much and you have so many thoughts going through your head about how much you suck and the last strikeout you did, and, you're never going to hit the ball, because it's just not going to happen. So I would for sure tell all upcoming athletes, especially at the D1 level or just college level in general, you have to train that side of the game too. You can't just focus on one side. And I think players that successfully do that, they become, the Haley McClennies, the Kaylani Ricketts, the Jocelyn Olive, it's crazy.
Yeah. So what would you recommend them on? What does that training look like? Like, how would you encourage somebody, hey, you need to work on your mental game, Yeah, okay, great. What does that look like? How did you do it when you improved and got better?
I think it's a lot of like self-reflection, making sure that you're always looking at the positive, not the negative, looking at ways to improve, but also looking at ways that you did do good, and then making sure that you're holding yourself accountable, or like you can tell your teammates that you're trying to work on that, and then if they see that you're being down on yourself, they can just let you know, like, hey, pick it up. You told me that you weren't going to do that. Come on, you're better than that. But also being aware of it yourself. Like if you're in a high pressure situation and you don't do the best, like be aware that, things happened, yes, but I'm going to get better, and a lot of positive self-talk, because in the box, like just for softball in general, like when I look at it, it's just you, like on the offense, like, yeah, you have runners in scoring position or like on base, but it's 9 defensive players against one person in the box. And so if that one person in the box is against herself, that's the whole field. Everybody on the field is against you, even including yourself. So I just think that if you positive self-talk, like even if you swing and miss, or if she throws a strike right down the middle and you didn't swing, like, oh, well, always reinforcing that you are a good player, despite results, despite what just happened, like you are a good player. And, just building that to where instead of trying to train yourself to do that, now you're just automatically doing it, Yeah. And it becomes second nature to always think highly of yourself instead of so poorly,
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's why a lot of athletes are very spiritual, and they rely a lot on God and prayer and discipline, because we can be our worst enemy, our worst critic, so having that positive self-talk. But then when you realize that it's validated in your worth as a person, as a human being, knowing that, okay, you're alive for a reason. God gave you these skill sets. Therefore, you are worthy, whether you swing and miss or not. Just having that skill set means that you are worthy of being the recipient of that, the bearer of that skill set. So I think it's, I'd probably encourage people to know their purpose, because once they realize that it's bigger than just the sport, then it'll be easier to be okay with the failure, because you're not identified with the failure, but your identity is found in your purpose. So those are the things that I try to share with my kids often, and then just whoever else, because that self-talk, man, can be killer,
Rob. Dude. You hit it on the head right there. That's awesome. I wish. I mean, a lot of people always told me that, but I never believed it, until later in my career. But I think that's amazing to instill in young players, in your own children, because it doesn't only help them in softball and sports, but it helps them in life, And I think that's amazing. And I wish I would have took the time out to understand that and look more deep into that, instead of just brushing off saying, yeah, I know, I know my worth. But until you truly understand that, you're right, you won't be able to truly grasp it.
Another point that I share with these guys, because what's funny is my son, he's 7. And, we always talk about being like Jesus. And then he goes, but I don't care, because I can't see him. I can't see Jesus. You say he's alive, but I can't see him. So he said that when he was like 5, because we have conversations like this at an early age. That's just, how we operate. But when he said that at 5, it made me realize, okay, you're ready for this now. I love the idea of the church and the community, because the church is the bride of Christ. We're preparing ourselves for when Jesus comes back. But the idea that when Jesus left, he ascended into heaven physically, and then he breathed, he gave the Holy Spirit to us. Now we, as the body, as the church, become the bearers of his spirit. Now we are Jesus. So then when I told him, dude, man, if you're mean to your sister who's 4 years old, that's not right. And if I'm mean to you, I apologize. I should be more like Jesus because he's in me. So then I'll tell him about and this is my point, I'll tell him about my friends, his Uncle Chris. He holds me accountable because we're part of, we're an accountability group. And I'm not better if I don't have people around me to lean on and to be holding me accountable. You mentioned this in your teammates and being held accountable when they said that, hey, you wanted to be better, so we're just going to hold you to that standard. I think having a solid, not only, baseball, softball friend, but just a friend that you can be open and honest and vulnerable with to remind you of your worth, it'll help accelerate that value point so you can feel more like yourself, more 100% of who God's called you to be at an earlier age. So if you've got people that you can vent to that won't judge you, that will allow you to be you and will allow you to experience forgiveness for yourself, you'll be able to quickly get past those failures, because when you strike out, you know that there's somebody there that actually cares for you and doesn't even care about the strikeout. They just love you for who you are. I think oftentimes as players, we're short-sighted and feeling like we're defined by our failures or even defined by our success, and that people like us because we're awesome players, when actually, no, we like you because you're just you. You snort when you laugh. You have some crazy eyeball that, those kind of things. Like we cherish you as a person, not just you when you're at the top of your game. Because if that's the mentality that we take as players, then when we fail, that's when we believe that everybody hates us because we fail. So having that community around you that'll tell you the way it is, that you can feel not judged by, is going to be huge. And I know that's one thing that, I try to work with, the kids and even just my friends, but primarily I think a lot of Samoans, man, when they leave, or just Islanders in general, when they leave, I hear this all the time. A lot of football guys, they'll go to community colleges and they won't make it to the next level because it got too tough personally for them, because they identified with failure as if that's who I am. When it should not be the case, that your failure is not who you are. No, it's just what you do. You just fail, but that's okay. That's okay. So,
yeah, well, shoot, man, you're making me feel like I need to get back into softball now. Oh, man, yeah, that's the truth. You are speaking truth right now. I love it.
Man,
I think that's a
a lot of Polynesians suffer from the lack of self-worth because we're so narrow-minded on the island, and we hold high the standards of our parents. Like the respect level is so huge for them that when they say, "Eh, kwa kaya ke liu," man, then it's like, okay, I believe it.
I'm cracking up.
Oh man, yeah, but
man,
the good news. My gosh, don't even get me started on the good news and how it's an upside down standard where God loves us even in our failures. He actually loves us even more, in our failures, which makes us even more meaningful.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, that is the truth, and I feel like a lot of people, like you said, would benefit from learning that and seeing that and understanding that and living that, because it's lacked. And I know in my career I lacked that until like the ending, and I feel like in life, a life would have been a lot easier if I would have understood that too. So that's real. That's true facts, Rob. That's nice.
Awesome. Well, You played through your career successfully. When did you graduate?
I graduated in 2016, and then I am still currently in school getting my master's. 3 classes away, and I will be done. I can't wait to be done.
Yeah, 3 more classes.
I know, 3 more classes, and then I'll be done. But I got my undergrad in criminal justice with a minor in social work, and then I stayed and I got my master's. Well, I'm getting my master's in human environmental sciences.
Oh, man, scared of you.
No, my dad he preached, and he still preaches to this day every time I call him crying because think I'm going to fail a class or something. He always says, it's okay, no matter how long it takes. Just keep going, because education is very important, and it is. And so that's what drives me, 1, because I want to set a standard for myself, but 2, I want to set a standard for my family that I have now, and then the family that I plan to have in the future. Because I do agree with that it is very important, and my dad and my mom have instilled, they've always instilled that into all of their kids since we were young.
So did you do any softball after you graduated, or you finished your last season? Did you do any more travel ball, summer ball, or coaching?
No, I actually after my last year, Murph had told me that I had a couple offers to go for the pro league, but I decided that I didn't want to do it because I was just at that point. I think I was just ready for a new chapter, just a new chapter of something else in my life, because I had been doing it for so long. I wanted to see what else was out there. And so I ended up getting surgery right after season finished on my ankle, and then I missed it a lot because I couldn't play anymore because of my ankle, and I didn't really do the rehab like I was supposed to. And so I couldn't do that much anyways, but I missed softball so much, so I started giving lessons, softball lessons to younger athletes, and that's what I do now. I went into the workforce, but I found out that that really just wasn't my passion, and I missed softball a lot, and I just missed the competitiveness, so I decided to start up lessons, and eventually I just loved it so much that I ended up opening back in October with my partner, Quentin Prothrow. He's married to the pitching coach for the University of Alabama, Stephanie Van Braco. So me and him partnered up on a facility out here in Tuscaloosa, and so that's what I do now. I give lessons, and I help coach and do camps and clinics and stuff, and that's how I stay around the sport and give back by doing that, and I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world, because seeing these little girls, grow, and just for their love of softball in general, the better we make them, the better softball is as a sport. And I would do anything for that, because softball gave me the life I have now. And so I owe it to these girls, and I owe it to the sport of softball to do what I can to help, and plus it's just really fun. It's something I love to do.
That's awesome. Good for you. Yeah. Entrepreneur. Entrepreneur.
Lightweight. Yeah. Well, I just I wanted to make, because I had that when I was younger. I didn't go to a lot of lessons. One, because my family, we just couldn't afford a lot of that. When we could do it, we did, but most of it was practice. I tried my best to, take what my coaches gave me and I tried to really listen to them and understand it, and then I just tried to practice it at home. And I don't know if any of my coaches saw, but like I would like take a couple balls here and there. And I eventually like got enough to where I got a bucket, and I would stick, like my mom had like these PVC pipes in the backyard, so I would stick it in the ground, and then we had like this old mattress, and I put it up against our brick wall in the back, and I would just hit into that and try and practice like I could. Yeah. But I mean, it worked for me, so
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
it's funny, but that's what I did. And then I do remember like the trainer that we did have, like I did a couple like pitching lessons and a couple hitting lessons, but my mom, she was like, yeah, you know what you really need? And I was like, what? She said, you really need like an athletic coach, like a trainer to get you in shape. So that's what we did. We went and got like a trainer to actually get me in shape, and that's what we focused on. And then I would take what they did and I would just run at home and things like that. So, yep, it was crazy.
Are there any other Polynesians at Alabama now?
No, there aren't. When I came to the university, well, I mean, other than the football team, yeah. I mean, Tua, he's like the face of the Polynesian athletes right now. But when I came back in 2012, like my first year, there was only one other Polynesian dude, and he was on the football team, and I knew he was Samoan because we were on the bus. And, like, I made eye contact with him, and I was like, dude, like, you're for sure Samoan. but he was so far at the end of the bus and I was rushing to get to class. All I did was, like, you know, what's up, Lucy? And then I walked out. And I remember that was my freshman year. And then we had, I think I was driving one time. This was my senior year or junior year. I was driving by the bus stop, like I just finished a workout, and I was driving out, and I saw this girl, and she was standing at the bus stop with a 49er shirt on, and she had like the poly hair, and like I was like, this girl is for sure Samoan. So I stopped right in the middle of traffic, and I rolled down my window, and I was like, are you Samoan? And she was like, yes, you're Leona. And I was like, girl, get in this car right now and let me give you a ride. We didn't even know each other. And and she said, she was like, no, it's okay. I know you're going to the field or something. Don't worry about it. And I was like, are you sure? And we ended up linking up on Facebook and exchanging numbers and things like that. And her name was Jalaire. She was from Missouri. So anytime I see any poly people, I always try my hardest to go out and greet them, you know, because it's important for our Polynesian people, Samoan people, Tongan people, Polynesians in general to, you know, uplift and support each other, especially seeing another poly in college, you know, in the South. That's the craziest part, you know, like in the South. And so it's just really important to me to fellowship and, you know, get to know them because there's not a lot of us out here. So you got to support. But I do know that there are 3 Samoan girls, Samoan players on Mississippi State. So I am excited to go watch them play. I know. And they look amazing. I mean, I don't know who they are, but I saw a picture of them, and I think, like, one is a transfer, one is a senior, and then another girl is a freshman. And so they have 3 on their team, and they look, I hope they tear it up this season.
Wow. Okay, so we're going to have to hunt them down and then send them a link to your episode so that way they can get their mental state solid.
I'm pretty sure they already got that. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I think they're from LA. I don't know where they're from, but I think they're from LA, and I know in the South a lot of girls play for like Firecrackers and the Corona Angels, and you got to be a beast to be on those teams. So So I'm pretty sure they're all like already prepped and ready to go.
Cool. Yeah, we'll have to track them down, man. This has been fun. This has been really fun. How do you feel about what you shared?
I feel good about it. I mean, it has been fun just reminiscing on the old times. It's sad to say old times because I do miss it, and I didn't think I would miss it as much as I am now. And I think it's because I am in Tuscaloosa, so I'm so close to where I once played. Like, I drive by the field. I have to drive by it to go to my facility. So, like, I drive by it all the time, and I see, and I'm just like, wow. Like, I can't believe I played that. I can't believe I used to play softball. I can't believe that, that was my journey. So reminiscing on it is like, it's bittersweet because I'm so happy and so blessed that I get the memories, but it's bitter because I totally miss it. And it was definitely the best years of my life.
Yeah. Good for you. Well, thank you for sharing your journey. It's been fun hearing you reminisce and tracking along. And it's I tell this to everybody all the time. It's just like watching a movie when I listen to people's stories. So it's definitely intriguing and enriching at the same time. And I can guarantee you the parents that are going to listen to this and the athletes, whether it's a young baseball dude or a softball girl, they'll be encouraged just as much. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, I appreciate everything that you're doing. This is amazing, especially like how specific it is towards the Polynesian community. I think it's amazing because, there's not many of us in the sport of softball, in the sport of baseball. So to have someone going out there and interviewing people to make, to grow the community and to grow our minds, I mean, that's just amazing. So thank you so much for what you do, Rob, because, I mean, you're helping us grow, and we need more people like you.
Yeah, I'm just excited to hear more stories because it's going to be like our own little Hulu,
Right?
There's going to be so many different channels to watch. So it's cool, man. Well, I appreciate you, and
all right, well,
we'll be in touch. Yeah, we'll definitely be in touch.
Okay, well, sounds good. If y'all ever need anything, please feel free to call, text. It doesn't matter. I'm always here to help out the community because I love the Polynesian people and I do anything for y'all.
Amen. Cool. Okay, we'll talk soon.
All right. Have a good night.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.